The place where there is radioactive material, which comes from the source, is the holes that only allow photons coming vertically to enter. Therefore, when an interaction occurs here in the crystal, I know that this interaction is coming from that specific point. But if a photon comes at an angle, it will hit this barrier and get absorbed, so it won't reach the detector. Consequently, the detector will only see what is falling vertically on it. Is that clear? So the collimator acts as if it has done collimation or localization to determine the locations from which your radioactive material is coming in the body. This is a very important function, because without it, I cannot precisely determine the locations of the radioactive material within the body and where it is coming from. Now, I have different radioactive materials that I can use. I can use technetium, iodine, gallium, or thallium. Each radioactive material has its own energy. High energy is not the same as low energy, but what exactly does that mean in practical terms? What are you trying to convey with this distinction? He said, before we delve into the complex topic of energy, let's first have a preliminary discussion about the pipes of collimators, which play a crucial role in the process. There are 4 types of collimators. In this category, parallel hole, diverging hole, pinhole, and converging hole. To be honest, it's clear that some of these are used today, while others are less common. The main one that is used is the parallel hole. The diverging and converging holes are no longer used much nowadays. The parallel hole is the basis. What does parallel hole mean? It means all the holes are parallel in this way. So the object you are imaging, or the body, or the organ you are imaging, will appear here without any magnification, just as it is. In the diverging hole, the holes start to take a certain angle. So the diverging collimator is used when you are imaging a large organ or a large field of view. If its size is large and you want to reduce it, then the object coming here will undergo a minimization or reduction in your image. As for the converging hole, the object is small and you want to magnify it. So you adjust the angles of the holes to allow for this magnification in this way. The pinhole, on the other hand, is like this view. This is the pinhole. This collimator, or this opening, all of this is lead. This opening here is the only one that allows the radioactive material to pass through. It only allows that to happen. And this is used in the pinhole type. It provides magnification and gives you a high resolution image. So, the parallel hole does not have magnification. The diverging hole creates magnification. The converging hole also creates magnification. And the pinhole also provides magnification and increases the resolution, right? This is the parallel hole. This is the pinhole. All of this is lead. This is the object, diverging and converging. This image shows you the best pinhole image that I captured. It is the same size as the converging collimator. I performed magnification with the pinhole and used the lead shield, which increased your resolution as well. In thyroid scans, there are 4 main categories of collimators: parallel hole, converging, and diverging. There is a bit of a problem with the diverging collimator. Now we will work on the pinhole again. This is what it looks like after I removed the cover. Now let's talk about the parallel hole collimator. You see, the image that is captured gives you the same picture with the same dimensions and size. Now, Here is the shape of the collimator from the inside and the shape of the holes that are present. Now, I have a radioisotope like technetium with an energy of 140 keV. I have iodine-131, for example, which has an energy of over 300 keV, and I have something like gallium-67, which has an energy in the range of 200 keV. So what do I have here? I have something like the gallium, for example, 767, for instance. This is applied in the range of kiloliters per volt. Is there a need for less than 200 or an element or radioisotope with energy less than 200 keV and a radioisotope with energy over 300 and another radioisotope with energy above 200? Can you imagine that the design of the collimator will be the same when you come to image a patient injected with technetium, like a patient injected with iodine or a patient injected with gallium? Will it be the same? I wonder. I use the same collimator, but is there a difference? They tell you there is a difference. You will make a collimator that is called low energy, another called medium energy, and another called high energy. What is low energy? What is medium energy? And what is high energy? Each one of them is specifically used for the detection of radioisotopes within a certain energy range. Each one is used correctly in the detection of radioisotopes within specific energy ranges. So, what is the difference between low energy, high energy, and medium energy? The difference is quite simple in the design of the six. I want to explain it to you. The collimator has a specific thickness for each strip in terms of its design and structure, as well as its functionality in various scenarios. Do you expect your thickness to increase with increased energy or not? And why? Would it increase? And why would it not? May God open your way, because if I have a radioactive material here and it is emitting, I want the incoming at a specific angle to happen inside. For example, if I am imaging with a thickness of this case, there will be 4 kilo electrons with a thickness of 0.7 or 2.5 millimeters. In this case, it will occur. It's called the septa of penetration. When the photon passes through the septa and reaches your crystal, it creates something called a star artifact. Do you see this artifact? This artifact is called the star artifact. Where does this scattered radiation come from? You see the scattered radiation here. Why does it appear this way? Because you are using a collimator with energy, while you are imaging a substance that is essentially high energy. The radioactive material was able to penetrate the septum and reach the crystal, which started giving you scattered radiation in this way. For example, here is iodine-131 at 364 kilo electron volts with high energy. You see the image has no scattered radiation. With the medium energy collimator, the image is less clear. And with low energy, there is high scattered radiation. Why is that? Because the septum is not thick enough to stop the scattered radiation. To achieve a septal thickness of 0.25 metes, it results in less than 1% septal penetration. Now for the 200, which is medium energy, a septal thickness of 0.5 metes is enough to achieve how much less than 1%? The thickness of the collimator is 0.5 millimeters, which is sufficient. The penetration rate increases slightly by 1%. For the high energy collimator, the thickness is 2.2 millimeters, and the penetration, which refers to the amount of scattered radiation that will pass through, will be over 500. However, with high energy, there must also be penetration because the energy of the collimator is high. That's why, when you come to examine these collimators, this collimator. This collimator is very powerful. It can take a significant amount of radiation from a person's body based on its size and weight. It's very strong because it's filled with lead. Do you see this collimator? You will find it has markings on it. If we get a little closer, I'm not sure if it will show up, but you will find it has low energy, medium energy, or high energy collimators. The heavier one is the high energy. So now I know the difference between low energy, medium energy, and high energy, right? Is there any problem with that? All right, great. Now let's talk about something related to high energy. You mentioned there are two things. If you are right now, now we will talk about low energy. There is something called sensitivity, and there is something called resolution. What is sensitivity, and what is resolution? First, this is a barrel hold, or barrel hold collimator. Today, I have a simple topic. If I want to say that the word sensitivity and the word resolution mean what in New York, a new day has come. Sensitivity means how many counts you can collect, how much detection you can perform per millicurie or per megabecquerel per minute. What does this mean? It means if I bring a radioactive material here and I want to detect the counts coming from it or the photons coming from it, how many counts will I get per minute? For each megabecquerel, this count represents the detection of photons that I was able to detect per minute when the activity of this radioactive material was at 1 megabecquerel. I call this sensitivity. Is this clear, or should I explain it further? This is a lot, okay? Resolution is the ability to distinguish between 2 points or 2 sources of light next to each other. These 2 sources are next to each other. Here is one source and here is another source. Let's assume that I currently have a point here with a material of feelings and a point here with a material of feelings. I'm sorry, Here is a point, and here is another point. And here is another point. And here is another point. This point will emit a photon here. And the adjacent point will emit a photon here. So, I was able to separate them, or I was able to distinguish between them, or between these tools. That's great, great. If I have these tools, the two are so small that they are very close to each other. If I send one and then the other, both will produce the same gamma photon inside my hole. If I release one and then the other, will I be able to distinguish between them in any way or not? So, will the resolution decrease or not? Beautiful. So based on what I explained, the resolution here depends on what? Doctors? Does it depend on the diameter of the hole or not? The wider the hole, the larger its diameter. Does the resolution decrease or increase? So, if the diameter of the hole increases, does the resolution decrease? And what about sensitivity? Does it decrease or increase? You increase it because you widen the diameter, which allows more counts of photons to pass through to you. So, if the hole's diameter increases, your sensitivity increases while the resolution decreases. Now, if you want to design a calorimeter today, if the energy is low, you get this resolution. This resolution is contingent upon whether the hole diameter remains narrow or wide. If the energy is low, this resolution in the calorimeter will expect that your hole diameter is fine, but the sensitivity will naturally decrease over time. Is there anything else that affects or has an impact on resolution and sensitivity? Yes. In particular, look at this for additional details. The distance is another point, but I want to say that I am still working on the design of the calorimeter. The thickness affects sensitivity. If the thickness of the material increases, your sensitivity will decrease. By the way, do you see the length of this hole? The larger the lens, the higher your resolution increases. This is because if we assume I have a photon coming in at an angle, if the lens is short, it's like there is a photon here. That's it, Adeli, here it is. Let's assume that this leg will move at an angle like this and pass through here. If it comes at the same angle and approaches the lens or these long holes, it will hit them and won't have the space to pass through. Can you imagine? Because the longer the lens, the more it will cause attenuation of the scattered photons coming at an angle, unlike when it is small, which might allow some photons to pass through. So, for high resolution, I have two things. The diameter of the hole is small, and the length of the collimator is long. These improve my resolution and reduce my sensitivity. On the contrary, here, when you shorten the length, it increases your sensitivity. So it is called low energy, high sensitivity. This is, of course, because your medium energy has a large thickness. So, what is the idea here? What I want to say is that you must optimize between sensitivity and resolution and use a type. The collimator, which is an essential component in imaging systems, depends heavily on the specific type of examination you are working on. This is precisely why it is equipped with a feature known as low energy, all-purpose or general purpose mode, which is designed to provide a reasonable level of resolution while simultaneously offering you high sensitivity. This is about low energy, the purpose of which I was talking about. For example, you might find the collimators coming to you in a place saying, I have low energy, high resolution, medium energy, and high energy. Also, the purpose of this is that you find the holes have a large damper, so the sensitivity is considered higher than low energy, low resolution. So what difference does it make if the sensitivity is a bit high? What difference does it make if I increase the sensitivity? What do you think will change other than the resolution decreasing? Now, if my collimator allows me to take 1000 counts per minute, and another collimator allows me to take only 500 counts per minute, then the scan time, this is a very important point, your examination time for the patient to perform a scan requires a certain number of counts to produce an image in the end. So if the count is low, the image will be noisy. You need to achieve a high count to get a good image, so you need to increase the time significantly to reach your target count that gives you a good result. That's why it was mentioned that the average sensitivity is important. For every 500,000 microcuries from the main area, there is approximately 1 centimeter for every 10 centimeters from the main area. The resolution is higher at low energy. The purpose is clear. The holes are more effective because you have reduced the distance or decreased the diameter. I expect that as the diameter increases, the count becomes higher. And by increasing the length of the holes, it becomes more deep. The sensitivity was 85,000 counts per microcol, but the resolution was higher at 0.65 centimeters. This means that a distance of 1 centimeter allows for separation between two objects. And when I say 0.65, it refers to the distance you can use to separate two lesions or two hot lesions that are 0.6 centimeters apart, giving you more resolution. As we mentioned, medium energy is used with gallium, indium, or krypton, while high energy is used with iodine-131 or even FTG because it gives you 500 kilo electron volts above low energy. High resolution is used with technetium. All right. Now let's continue. Here is the shape of the collimator, or the shape of the holes in high energy. And here is its shape in low energy. There is something called high resolution and something called ultra high resolution. In ultra high resolution, you will find that the holes have become a list diameter, which is the diameter of a strong field. The number for ultra high resolution is not commonly used, but most people use low energy high resolution, especially in cardiac cases, or low energy for the first Corbinos. Of course, medium energy and high energy collimators are used according to the type. If we have iodine, we use high energy. If we have gallium or indium, we use medium energy collimators. Here is the collimator for low energy. Here is the medium energy. And here is the high energy. And this star artifact that I was talking about has disappeared with high energy and is now present with low energy. One of the points that affects resolution and sensitivity is distance. As the doctor mentioned, the farther away you are, the more you can expect your resolution and sensitivity to decrease. Therefore, you should always try to keep your head, crystal, or collimator as close as possible to our object, as this will reduce something called penumbra. If you remember the topic of penumbra we discussed, if I have a barrel hole collimator like this, and I have an object here being imaged, the object should ideally be the only field of view I want. However, if you are far from the barrel hole collimator, a scatter area may form, which is called penumbra. If we recall the topic of any X-ray tube, and remember that I have an object, I would say that here is the image receptor for me. Remembering the penumbra topic, I mentioned that with a small focal spot size, a region appears that is called penumbra, which affects your resolution. Well, if we remember from what we were saying, this area was heavily dependent on the distance between us. Our discussion here is the same idea. The further away you are, the more the scattered angle, or scattered photons coming from your margins, will weaken the resolution of your object, increasing the penumbra region. So if you are very close, you enhance the resolution, and if there are any scattered photons